Hey, what's up everyone? This is Silver Slayer. Thank you for tuning into this video. We know that silver prices are bullish, but how bullish are they? This article is going to reflect and share the similarities between the Great Depression in the 30s and also how close it resembles today's times and what that could mean in the next 3 to 5 years for gold and silver. So before we start, make sure to smash that like button. Let's see if this video can get 200 likes. Every single one of you, go like the video right now if you love precious metals. The link to this article from Seeking Alpha will be in the description. And with that said, let's jump into it. So this article explores the possibility that silver prices may be entering a similar period to the 1930s Great Depression era. Various silver price charts reveal that the past decade of silver prices have behaved similar to the decade leading up to the Great Depression. A brief discussion on some of the fundamental factors and key centered around the currency similar to now that were taking place back then. So I recently wrote an article about macro view of silver prices that was informed by technicals and some of the work done by Crescat Capital. In it, I explored the bull case for silver but tried to be equally as respectful for the bear case. I lean bullish at the moment on silver, and for this article, I thought it would be useful to review historical silver prices during the Great Depression era, as this is something I left out of my previous article. Let me be the first to say I'm not big on stock market chart analogs. When I see others using analogs, I usually don't get very far before I stop reading. So if you're one of those people, I understand. However, I also am a firm believer that history rhymes, although not always perfectly. My goal for this article is for people, including myself, to prepare for a wide range of possible outcomes in the short term with a firm understanding of the probability of the longer term 3 to 4 year outcome. And that's what I see a lot, time and time again. People aren't very bullish for silver in the short term, but in the medium to long term, the next 3 to 5 years, this is where silver is really going to shine. This is where your dreams can come true. If you're looking to invest in silver only for a couple months or a couple years, you're selling yourself short. You're missing the entire purpose. It's going to take some time, but in that time, your patience will pay off. So since I believe history rhymes, let me say that I believe what we are living through today is the modern day equivalent to the Depression era of 1929 to 1932. Even despite the most recent jobs reporting appearing very positive. Without going into details on why, besides the obvious economic conditions, I think it's appropriate to understand silver price behavior in this time period. So without blabbering the further point, here's a chart of silver prices brought to us by macrotrends.net. It showcases silver prices from 1915 to 1945. Notice how the roaring 20s reveal a continuous price decline in the price of silver. Sound familiar to the decade we just went through with silver prices? I think so. Then, once 1932 was reached, which was the bottom in the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones Industrial Average, silver price began to rise sharply. And you can see here's another chart showing silver prices adjusted for inflation in log scale during the Great Depression years. When adjusted for inflation, this chart bottomed in 1930. So the question is, if these charts are informative for where silver prices are today, then where are we on these charts? In my humble opinion, 2021 will be the equivalent of 1932 when we reach a bottom in the stock market and begin moving higher. So he's saying next year, this is when the worst of the worst is going to be in the Great Depression. And next year, I have been talking about a depression coming, a recession/depression coming, even before the virus started, even before the U.S.-China trade war, the negotiations. I was talking about this simply because of our government, of our system, and how worthless the dollar is and how unaware people are. So this is a bold claim, I understand, and simply based on my historically informed opinion, if this is accurate, it looks like silver prices bottomed in 1932, which means then silver has either reached a low or it is within about a year of having reached a low. So he's saying that the last of these low silver prices could be coming to an end and it's going to be much higher from here on out. To account for multiple outcomes in the short term, I'm long certain silver stocks while keeping powder dry to buy more if the silver price decides to go lower before going higher in 2021 and beyond. And this could be a great last time buying opportunity. If you don't have much silver, you definitely want to get your hands in now before prices go too much higher. You don't want to be paying $30, $40 for an ounce of silver when you have the opportunity to buy it in the teens. So it goes without saying that I also try to keep a diversified portfolio. Take it with a grain of salt. As I stated previously, analogs only go so far for me. I wouldn't be willing to take this much further and say that silver prices won't reach their previous decade high of around $50 per ounce because they didn't reach their previous decade high in 1935. Although I'm open for the possibility and will be watching it closely. For a little more context, here is the inflation-adjusted log scale chart from 1920 to 1970, so you can see what silver prices did over the longer term. So here you can see it really did take some time. The Great Depression backdrop. Similar to today, the Great Depression was a very deflationary time period, and it was rumored that that FDR was going to try to create inflation before he entered the office, not unlike our Federal Reserve today. As FDR entered office, he started off with the Agricultural Relief Act in May of 1933, which, despite its name, reached much further than only affecting agriculture. It allowed president to reduce the gold backing dollar by up to 50%. And FDR actually, this is a side note, FDR changed the gold to silver ratio from 16 to 1 to 75 to 1 when he was in office. He single-handedly undervalued silver, made silver basically worthless compared to gold. 16 to 1 was the average ratio before he came in office. He changed it to 75 to 1. This also gave the president the power to back the dollar with a proportion of silver and not just gold, giving silver price a boost. To know that this was one of the first things FDR did as a president tells us a lot about the man. Next, he signed the Executive Order 6814, which made it illegal to hold silver and required all silver to be transferred to the Treasury at a set price to be used for coinage. And I've made videos talking about this, confiscating your silver, stuff like that. If history rhymes, I would expect to see some currency gimmickry besides obnoxious money printing in the next 2 to 4 years as a result of a deflationary tailspin or the possibility of hyperinflation tailspin. This certainly begs the question, will my gold and silver investments be safe from government intervention like we saw in the Great Depression era? Although I don't have an answer, I think it's a very important question to be asking. So, conclusion. The purpose of this article was to shed light on the possibility that we are living in a similar point in history as 1929 to 1935, where silver price declined for about a decade, followed by a sharp price increase. Over the longer term period of 3 to 5 years, I think there's a strong probability that silver prices will increase according to the silver chart analog during the Great Depression. So once again, we see this 3 to 5 year range where silver prices are really going to shine. The short term is basically irrelevant. It's just time to get your silver for cheaper. So fundamentally, this is also based on the fact that the economy is weak and heavily addicted to cheap money and money printing, which, even against the Federal Reserve's wishes, will inflate precious metals. The question remains, what is the path that silver prices will take to get there? It's possible. It's this possibility of multiple paths that I'm both preparing my portfolio for, as well as my emotional and psychological self for in advance. One thing can be sure, it promises to be volatile. So, there's a lot. I love this article because it really does reflect. We see a lot of articles. I've done a lot of articles and a lot of videos talking about how today's times reflect the 2008 credit crisis and how we're living in similar times then, which led to $50 silver in 2011. But to take it this far back, to the depression, the Great Depression, and how similar things are and where prices are going to be heading, just shows more insight and just shows more of where silver prices could be headed in the next 3 to 5 years. To be honest, silver was $50 not even 10 years ago. So the possibility in the next 5 years for silver to reach $50 with times so severe, with times so exaggerated, is not that crazy to think about. It's not that crazy to say. You know, a lot of times people say silver's never going to reach $50, or silver's never going to reach $100. It's very possible, extremely possible, and plausible with the circumstances given today and with the history, you know, that's been given in front of us. It's blatantly obvious that there's a lot of potential here, especially when we look at what times are doing and what times have told us in the past. So I hope you enjoyed this video from seekingalpha.com. The article will be in the description. If you enjoyed this video, if you thought it was educational, informational, or at least just entertaining, make sure to smash the like button. Subscribe if you're new. Click that bell. Turn on post notifications so you instantly get notified every single time I post a video. This was Silver Slayer. I'll see you guys soon. Peace.